What happens when a television icon sits down for what should be a simple chat, only to have the host turn the entire conversation into a public interrogation? It only took 38 seconds before Rowan Atkinson knew this was not going to be a normal interview. The beloved actor walked on to Lorraine Kelly's show expecting warmth and hospitality. What he got instead was a shocking display of entitlement that left the audience speechless and the panel members frozen in their seats. This was not supposed to go like this. The studio lights were bright that morning. Rowan Atkinson walked onto the set with his signature gentle smile. The audience clapped as he took a seat next to Lorraine Kelly. Two other panel members, Amanda and Marcus, sat further down the couch. They had been chatting about light topics all morning: weather, new movies, celebrity gossip, normal daytime television stuff. But when Rowan sat down, something in the air changed. Lorraine turned to him with a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. She had her notes in her lap. Her posture was stiff. The cameras rolled. "Rowan, so lovely to have you here," Lorraine began, her voice sugary sweet. "I just have to ask, where have you been hiding? It feels like you've been avoiding us." Rowan chuckled softly. "Not hiding, just working on some new projects. Keeping busy, you know." "Oh, projects?" Lorraine said, waving her hand dismissively. "Is that what we're calling it these days? Because from where I sit, it looks like you've been refusing every interview request. Are you too good for daytime television now?" The audience went quiet. You could hear the uncomfortable shuffling of feet. Amanda and Marcus exchanged glances, their eyes wide. This was not the tone you take with a guest, especially not someone like Rowan Atkinson. Rowan kept his composure. "I'm here now, aren't I?" he said with a polite smile. "I'm always happy to chat when I have the time." "When you have the time?" Lorraine repeated, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Must be nice to pick and choose. Some of us have to show up every single day, whether we feel like it or not." Amanda cleared her throat, trying to steer the conversation elsewhere. "Rowan, I've always loved your work. Mr. Bean is timeless. My kids still watch it. What was it like creating such an iconic character?" Rowan turned to her, grateful for the lifeline. "Thank you, Amanda. It was wonderful. We wanted to create something universal, something that transcended language. Physical comedy has always fascinated me." But Lorraine was not done. She leaned forward, cutting him off. "Physical comedy? Right. Because words require too much effort? Is that why you don't do many interviews? Can't be bothered with conversation?" The tension in the studio was thick now. Rowan's smile faded slightly. He looked at Lorraine with genuine confusion. "I'm not sure I understand what you're getting at." "What I'm getting at," Lorraine said sharply, "is that you think you're above all this. You show up when you want, you leave when you want, and the rest of us are just supposed to be grateful that you graced us with your presence." Marcus, the other panel member, shifted uncomfortably. "Lorraine, maybe we should, talk about his new work? Didn't you have something new coming out, Rowan?" Rowan nodded slowly, still trying to be polite. "Yes, actually. I've been working on a stage production. It's been quite fulfilling." "A stage production?" Lorraine said mockingly. "How exclusive. I suppose that's for people who can afford theater tickets, right? Not for the regular folks who watch this show." That was the moment. You could see it in Rowan's eyes. The patience wearing thin. The realization that this was not a conversation, it was an attack. He placed his hands on his knees and took a deep breath. "Lorraine," he said calmly, "I came here today in good faith. I've always respected this show and its audience. But I don't appreciate being spoken to this way. If you have an issue with me, perhaps we should have discussed it beforehand." Lorraine laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Oh, here we go, playing the victim now. You can't handle a few hard questions? Maybe you should stick to silent comedy where nobody expects you to defend yourself." The audience gasped. A few people in the front row covered their mouths. Amanda put her hand on Rowan's arm, a gesture of support. Marcus looked down at his feet, clearly wishing he could disappear. Rowan stood up. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight. "I think I've heard enough. Thank you for having me." "Oh, no, you don't get to just walk off," Lorraine snapped, standing up as well. "You came on my show. You sit there until I'm done." Rowan looked at her, his expression steady. "This is not your show, Lorraine. It's a show you host. And I'm a guest, not a prisoner. I'll be leaving now." The producer rushed onto the set from the side, a headset still on his head. "Rowan, please, just sit down. We can work this out," he said, trying to smooth things over. But Rowan shook his head. I have no issue with you or your crew, but I will not stay somewhere I'm being deliberately disrespected. Lorraine crossed her arms, her face red with anger. Fine, leave then. Shows what kind of person you really are. Can't take the heat. Amanda stood up too. Lorraine, that's enough. He doesn't deserve this. Lorraine whipped around to face Amanda. Excuse me, are you taking his side now? I'm taking the side of common decency, Amanda said firmly. You've been rude to him from the moment he sat down. This isn't journalism, it's bullying. Marcus finally found his voice. She's right, Lorraine. This isn't okay. We're supposed to make guests feel welcome, not attack them. Lorraine's face twisted with indignation. Both of you, stay out of this. This is between me and him. There is no this, Rowan said quietly. I'm leaving. Goodbye, Amanda. Marcus, thank you for trying. He walked toward the studio exit. The cameras were still rolling. The producers were scrambling. One of them shouted, "Cut to commercial!" But nobody seemed to move fast enough. Lorraine followed him a few steps. You walk off this set, you're never coming back. Rowan paused at the door and turned back. That's perfectly fine with me. His voice was calm, measured. Then he walked out. The studio fell into stunned silence. The audience sat frozen. Lorraine stood there, her arms still crossed, breathing heavily. Amanda shook her head and walked off set as well. Marcus followed her. The producer finally yelled, "Cut! Everyone cut!" The camera stopped. The lights dimmed slightly, but the damage was done. Backstage, Rowan was already taking off his microphone. A young production assistant approached him nervously. "Mr. Atkinson, I'm so sorry about all that. That shouldn't have happened." Rowan gave her a kind smile. "It's not your fault. Thank you for saying that." Amanda found him a moment later. "Rowan, I'm mortified. I had no idea she was going to do that." "Neither did I," Rowan said with a weary laugh. "But you stood up for me. That meant a lot." Marcus arrived too, looking embarrassed. "I should have said something sooner. That was awful." "You both did what you could," Rowan said. "I appreciate it." Back on set, Lorraine was pacing. The producer approached her carefully. "Lorraine, we need to talk about what just happened." "What's there to talk about?" Lorraine shot back. "He was being difficult. I was just asking questions." "Those weren't questions, Lorraine," the producer said, his voice strained. "You attacked him, in front of the whole audience. Do you have any idea what this looks like?" Lorraine waved him off. "He'll get over it. They always do." "No," the producer said firmly. "This is different. Rowan Atkinson is not just anyone. He's respected, beloved, and you just humiliated him on live television." Lorraine's confidence faltered for a moment. "It wasn't that bad." "It was worse," the producer said, "and Amanda and Marcus defended him, against you, on your own show. Do you understand how that looks?" Lorraine's face flushed again, but this time with something other than anger. Maybe realization, maybe regret, but she said nothing. Meanwhile, Rowan was gathering his things. His publicist had arrived, looking frazzled. "What on earth happened in there?" "Lorraine Kelly happened," Rowan said simply. "She decided to turn an interview into an interrogation. I wasn't going to sit there and take it." His publicist sighed. "This is going to blow up. You know that, right?" "Let it," Rowan said. "I'm tired of people thinking they can treat others however they want just because there's a camera rolling." Back in the studio, the audience was being ushered out. They were talking among themselves, still in shock. One older woman shook her head as she walked past a crew member. "That poor man. She was horrible to him." Another audience member chimed in. "I've never seen anything like that. She was so disrespectful. He was trying to be polite the whole time." The crew members exchanged worried looks. This was not good. The audience loved Rowan. They had seen everything, and they were not on Lorraine's side. Inside the green room, Amanda sat with her head in her hands. Marcus sat next to her, equally quiet. Finally, Amanda spoke. "I can't believe that just happened. I've worked with Lorraine for 3 years, and I've never seen her act like that." "She was out of line." Marcus agreed, way out of line. Rowan didn't deserve that. He's one of the nicest people in the industry. "I don't know if I can keep working here after this," Amanda said quietly. "If that's how she treats guests, what does that say about the show?" Marcus nodded. "I was thinking the same thing." Out in the hallway, the producer was on his phone, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. "Yes, I know. It was a disaster." Rowan walked off. Amanda and Marcus sided with him On camera. Yes, all of it was on camera. No, I don't know how we're going to spin this. He paused, listening. Then he sighed heavily. I understand. I'll talk to her, but I'm telling you, this is bad. Really bad. Lorraine was still on set, sitting in her chair now. The studio was nearly empty. The lights were dim. She stared at the floor, her arms wrapped around herself. For the first time since Rowan had left, she looked uncertain. A makeup artist approached her cautiously. Lorraine, are you okay? Lorraine didn't look up. I'm fine. Do you want to talk about it? No. The makeup artist hesitated, then walked away. Nobody wanted to be near Lorraine right now. Nobody wanted to deal with the fallout of what had just happened. Outside the building, Rowan climbed into a car. His publicist sat beside him, already fielding calls. Yes, he's fine. No, we won't be making a statement right now. Thank you. She hung up and turned to Rowan. That was the fifth journalist. In 10 minutes, everyone wants to know what happened. Rowan looked out the window. Let them ask. The truth will speak for itself. What do you want me to tell them? Nothing, Rowan said. I don't need to defend myself. Everyone in that studio saw what happened. The audience, the crew, Amanda, Marcus, they all saw it. His publicist nodded. You're right, you handled it with grace. You were the bigger person. I just treated her with the same respect I'd want for myself, Rowan said. And when that wasn't reciprocated, I left. It's as simple as that. Back at the studio, the producer finally sat down with Lorraine. They were alone now. The cameras were off. The lights were low. It was just the two of them. Lorraine, the producer began carefully. We need to talk about your behavior today. I know, she said quietly. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you just destroyed your credibility. You attacked a beloved guest for no reason. Amanda and Marcus turned on you. The audience was horrified, and it was all on camera. Lorraine looked up, her eyes tired. I don't know what came over me. I was frustrated. He's turned down so many interviews, and when he finally shows up, I snapped. That's not an excuse, the producer said firmly. You're a professional. You've done this for years. You know better than to take out your frustrations on a guest. Lorraine nodded slowly. I know. I messed up. I messed up badly. Yes, you did, the producer agreed. And now we have to figure out how to fix this, if we even can. The weight of what had happened was finally sinking in. Lorraine had let her ego get the better of her. She had treated a guest with contempt, and now everyone knew it. The cameras had captured everything. The audience had seen it all. And Rowan had walked away with his dignity intact. In the green room, Amanda and Marcus were still sitting in silence. Finally, Amanda stood up. I'm going home. I need to think about whether I want to come back. Marcus stood too. I'll walk with you. They left together, leaving the studio behind. Outside, the sky was overcast. The air felt heavy. It had been a morning nobody would forget. Rowan's car drove through the city. He sat quietly, looking out at the passing buildings. His publicist was still on her phone, managing the incoming flood of questions and requests. But Rowan was calm. He had done nothing wrong. He had simply stood up for himself when someone tried to tear him down, and that's what made the difference. In those 38 seconds when Lorraine first lashed out, Rowan could have fought back. He could have shouted. He could have made a scene. But he didn't. He stayed calm. He stayed respectful. And when it became clear that respect was not going to be returned, he left. That's what people would remember. Not Lorraine's anger, not her accusations, but Rowan's grace under pressure, his refusal to sink to her level, his quiet dignity in the face of hostility. The studio was empty now. The lights were off. The cameras were packed away. But the echoes of what had happened still lingered. Lorraine sat alone in the dark, replaying the confrontation in her mind, the way she had spoken to Rowan, the look on his face when he stood up to leave, the way Amanda and Marcus had defended him. She had thought she was in control. She had thought she could say whatever she wanted because it was her show. But she had been wrong. And now she was sitting in the consequences of her actions, alone in an empty studio, with nothing but her regrets for company. Rowan, on the other hand, was already moving on. He had other projects, other interviews, other opportunities. This was just one bad morning in a long and successful career. He would not let it define him. He would not let Lorraine's words get under his skin, because at the end of the day, Rowan knew who he was. He knew his worth, and he knew that no amount of hostility from a talk show host could take that away from him. He had walked onto that set with kindness and respect, and he had walked off with his head held high. That was the real story. Not the clash itself, but the way it was handled. Rowan had shown everyone watching what it meant to stand up for yourself without losing your composure. He had shown them that you don't have to fight fire with fire. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away. And so he did. He walked away from the hostility, the entitlement, the disrespect. He walked away from someone who thought they could treat him however they wanted just because they had a microphone and a camera. He walked away, and in doing so, he won. Not because he had the last word, not because he had shouted the loudest, but because he had maintained his dignity when someone tried to strip it away. Because he had shown kindness even when met with cruelty. Because he had proven that being the bigger person is not about staying silent. It's about knowing when to speak and when to walk away. And that morning, in that studio, with those cameras rolling and that audience watching, Rowan Atkinson showed everyone exactly what that looked like. He showed them grace under pressure. He showed them strength and composure. He showed them that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply leave. The aftermath was immediate. Within minutes of Rowan walking off the set, the crew was buzzing with conversation. Nobody could believe what they had just witnessed. The camera operators exchanged looks of disbelief. Even the floor manager, who had seen countless interviews over the years, stood there in shock. The floor manager approached the producer, who was still pacing near the set. "What do we do now? We have 20 minutes of airtime left." The producer rubbed his temples. "Fill it with B-roll, old interviews, anything. Just get something on screen while we figure this out." In the green room, a young intern brought water to Amanda and Marcus. "I just wanted to say, you both did the right thing out there, standing up for Mr. Atkinson like that." Amanda smiled weakly. "Thank you, but honestly, it shouldn't have been necessary. He came here as a guest. He should have been treated with respect," Marcus added. "I've met Rowan a few times over the years. He's genuinely one of the kindest people in the business. What Lorraine did to him today was unforgivable." Meanwhile, Lorraine was in her dressing room. The door was closed. She sat in front of her mirror, staring at her reflection. The confidence she had felt earlier was gone. Her assistant knocked softly. "Lorraine, the producer wants to speak with you." "Tell him I need a minute," Lorraine said quietly. Back in his car, Rowan was checking his own phone. His publicist had been right. Everyone wanted to know what happened. But unlike Lorraine, Rowan had nothing to hide. "Do you want to give a statement?" His publicist asked. Rowan thought about it for a moment. Then he shook his head. "No, the people who were there know what happened. The audience saw it. The crew saw it. That's enough." At the studio, the meeting between Lorraine and the producer was tense. They sat across from each other in a small office. "Do you have any idea how bad this looks?" the producer began. "Rowan Atkinson walked off your show. Amanda and Marcus defended him on camera. The audience was horrified." Lorraine stared at the desk. "I know. I said I know," Lorraine snapped, her defenses rising. Then she caught herself. "I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I just don't know how to fix it." The producer leaned back in his chair. "I'm not sure you can fix it. Not immediately, anyway. This is going to be news. People are going to talk about it, and you're going to have to live with the consequences." "What do you want me to do?" Lorraine asked, her voice small. "For now, nothing. Don't talk to the press. Don't make any statements. Just lay low and let this blow over as much as it can. And Lorraine, this can't happen again. Ever. Do you understand me?" Lorraine nodded slowly. "I understand." The producer stood up. "Good. Now go home. Take the rest of the day off. We'll figure out how to move forward tomorrow." Lorraine left the office and walked through the empty hallways of the studio. It felt different now. Colder. More hostile. People who usually greeted her cheerfully looked away. Nobody wanted to make eye contact. Nobody wanted to be associated with what had happened. She gathered her things from her dressing room and left through the back exit. Her car was waiting. The driver opened the door for her without a word. As they pulled away from the studio, Lorraine looked out the window. The city passed by in a blur. She felt numb. By evening, the story had already spread. Social media was buzzing. News outlets were covering it. Everyone had an opinion. Most of those opinions were not kind to Lorraine. People who had watched the show were posting about what they had seen. The audience members were sharing their experiences. And the consensus was clear. Lorraine had been out of line. Rowan had been the victim, and he had handled it with grace. One audience member posted online, "I was there this morning. I saw the whole thing. Lorraine Kelly was absolutely horrible to Rowan Atkinson. He tried so hard to be polite, but she just kept attacking him. I've lost all respect for her. Another wrote, Amanda and Marcus were the real heroes today. They stood up for Rowan when Lorraine was being a bully. Good for them. I hope they get their own show, a third person commented. Rowan Atkinson is a class act. The way he stayed calm even when Lorraine was tearing into him shows what kind of person he is. She should be ashamed of herself. At home, Rowan poured himself a cup of tea and sat in his living room. His phone was still buzzing with messages, but he had turned off the notifications. He didn't need to read them. He knew what people were saying, and he knew that he had done the right thing. His wife came into the room and sat beside him. "How are you feeling?" she asked gently. "I'm fine," Rowan said with a small smile. "It was unpleasant, but I'm fine. I saw some of the posts online. People are really supporting you." "That's kind of them," Rowan said. "But I didn't do it for support. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Nobody should have to sit there and be insulted just because someone has a camera pointed at them." His wife squeezed his hand. "I'm proud of you. You handled it beautifully." "Thank you," Rowan said. "Now, let's not talk about it anymore. What should we have for dinner?" Meanwhile, Lorraine sat alone in her house. The curtains were drawn. The lights were dim. Her phone was on the table, face down. She didn't want to see the messages. She didn't want to read the comments. She already knew what they said. And they were right. She had been wrong. Terribly, publicly wrong. And now she had to live with that. She thought about calling Rowan, apologizing, trying to make it right. But she knew it wouldn't help. The damage was done. An apology now would just look like damage control. And Rowan deserved better than that. He deserved an apology that was genuine, not strategic. And right now, sitting in her guilt and shame, Lorraine wasn't sure she could give him that. The memory of what happened would linger. For Lorraine, it was a reminder of what happens when ego overtakes empathy. For Rowan, it was a reminder that standing up for yourself doesn't make you difficult, it makes you strong. And for everyone who witnessed it, it was a lesson in how to handle conflict with grace, dignity, and respect. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Not who had the last word, but who kept their integrity intact.